we have learned, says he will sign the first version of the bill tomorrow in a ceremony at the White House. Now, a short time ago, Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Democratic leaders held a signing ceremony of their own for the legislation. There it is. Safe to say no Republicans were there. Today, as the Senate prepares to take up the challenges of the bill, House Republicans are talking about why the bill is a mistake. And one of those Republicans who's joining me now from Capitol Hill is Congressman Phil Gingrey. He's a Republican from suburban Atlanta, and he was a doctor before becoming a politician, so obviously this is something that's been very close to his heart. What is your reaction to, I guess I have to ask you this first of all, because there's a lot of talk about this. You know that there was a congressman from Texas, Congressman Naugabauer, who has now come forward and said that he's the one who screamed out "baby killer." And now some of the Democrats, not all of the Democrats, congressmen, are saying that he should go on the floor and apologize. What's your take?
Well, Rick, Randy Naugabauer is a very good friend of mine, and I'm sure, and in fact, I read his response and his apology, and he didn't say that that he felt like that Bart Stupak was a baby killer. He said it's a baby killer, the process, the president's executive statement. But no, I mean, the House floor.
By the way, I should probably, I need to challenge you on that a little bit, because we just talked to our correspondents there who were in the House when it was said, and they said it really did sound much more like baby killer than it did it's a baby killer. So he may,
well, Rick, yeah.
You know, I mean, look, we're parsing words, and we don't need to get into that, but I'm just giving you the other side.
Right. Sure. But anyway, he did apologize, and Randy's a good man and a good, strong pro-life. Certainly, I think what Bart Stupak did was somewhat of an insult to people like Chris Smith and Joe Pitts, who had worked out that language with him very carefully when that amendment was made to the original House bill. So I know they probably had a pretty sick feeling in the pits of their stomach last night.
But why, Congressman? This is what I don't understand. I've read the legislation as well as I can, and you know, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I can read pretty well. It did not seem to me like this legislation, even before the president's executive order, was saying that the government, with my money, would pay for abortions. In fact, the thing we have now, if we don't do this Obamacare, whatever it's being called, does pay for abortions. Most insurance companies in the United States are paying for abortions now. So I'm not understanding. I'm not sure I understood the big problem here.
Well, let me try to explain it to you, Rick.
Please.
That's with private dollars. That's not people getting their insurance through an exchange and being subsidized with my dollars and your dollars and other taxpayers' dollars. So that is the difference. And so I beg to differ with you on that, and so do the American Council of Catholic Bishops, and every pro-life organization in this country feels that this Senate language allows taxpayer dollars to be spent on legal abortions, elective abortions.
So that's what, and that's why I'm glad we're having this conversation. In fact, I think this is the best way to do something like this. You're not saying the money was going to directly pay for an abortion as a quid pro quo. In other words, I get an abortion, I get it paid for by the government. You're saying money from me and you and others going into the system would have been somehow used to pay for other people's abortions. That was the argument, right?
Yeah, exactly, Rick. That money is fungible. It's all sort of lumped in together and commingled. So that was the argument, yes.
I get it. And you're not confident that this president, that Mr. Obama's executive order will relinquish that or take care of that?
Well, Rick, he may be very sincere in issuing that executive order and hope that it sticks, but I'm not sure that an executive order can trump law, something that actually is in law. Usually executive orders are issued when there's some ambiguity in the law and to clarify. But even if it sticks, what's to say that he might change his mind a year from now when he gets a lot of pressure from the pro-choice organization? A lot of these people, of course, supported him very heavily during his election and will be needed there to support him during his attempt at re-elect. So how long does an executive order last?
Do you, I mean, I'm hearing some Republicans saying, Steve King, for example, that they want to repeal some of this. Are you comfortable going and trying to repeal something? Because that would almost put you in a situation where you'd be going to, like, somebody who has a 22-year-old kid and saying, look, I know you've now been able to insure your 22-year-old kid even after he wasn't able to get a job out of college, but I'm taking that away from you. Yeah. Do you want to do that?
Rick, I don't want to repeal everything in H.R. 3590. In fact, you know, there are things like what you just mentioned, allowing young adults, I should say, who are maybe still in college or graduate school up to age 26 to stay on their parents' policy. And you know, I'm not opposed to the exchanges for people who are low income and cannot or they're not eligible for Medicaid or even a 133% level for them to buy in the exchange and be qualified on a sliding scale for subsidies. So there are a lot of things in the bill that I'm in favor of, and indeed my Republican colleagues, my Republican leadership, both in the House and the Senate. So when we say start over, we don't mean throw everything out, throw out the baby with the bathwater, but we mean take the best of this bill and combine it with our ideas like buying insurance across state lines and equalizing the tax treatment and creating high-risk pools and of course all of the language in there regarding electronic medical records I'm in favor of. So I might not fully agree with completely repealing and starting over.
He's one of our guys here in Georgia, Phil Gingrey, Republican. We thank you, sir, for taking time to take
Rick,
us through this.
you.
We appreciate it.
Always glad to be with you. Thank you, Rick.
All right, appreciate it. We'll get you back. All right, let's talk about Elizabeth Cohen, because she's going to be coming up here in just a little bit. Now, what she's going to do is, you know, I just mentioned to the congressman that one process, the one that allows, so if you're a mom or a dad and you've got a kid who's 22 years old and you haven't been able to get